Hello everyone, it's Rich Hagon here, welcoming you to episode 2 of Profiles, where we're talking with Burchett, Lee Shi Tian, and Brian Braun-Duin. All three of this week's guests have faced plenty of challenges on and off the gaming table, and in this episode they open up about how they've tried to look after not just their wins and losses, but their mental health too. Brian Braun-Duin is one of Magic's hardest workers. His journey up through the ranks from Friday Night Magic to 2016 World Champion is one of the best underdog stories in Magic's history, and today he's still in the top ranks as a member of the Magic Pro League. His most recent top finish came in London last year when he took humans to a 6th place finish in Modern. BBD, we're going to start with a questionnaire. What is your favourite word or phrase in Magic?
By far my favorite is the drain X phrase of deals X damage and gains X life.
Wow, you bad man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your favourite colour in the game?
Black.
Your favourite card?
Obsidat, Ghost Council.
You see, that's terrible. You're basically saying not only are you dying, but I'm getting healthy as a result.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a kind of a theme between all three of those.
Isn't there just?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the best deck you ever played?
I don't know how to answer that question because it depends on what you mean by best. Like, do you mean like what I consider the best or what other people would consider the best?
I don't know. One way I think of it is, let's suppose you had every deck you'd ever played on a shelf, and you get to keep one of them forever. And there's the deck, and you take that out of the burning building. What's that deck?
Just for nostalgia purposes, it's got to be the Bant Human deck that I played at Worlds in 2016.
Okay,
that would be the deck.
All right. More widely, then, what do you think is the best deck of all time, whether or not you played it?
So I have to go with the 5-color Squire combo commander deck.
The what now?
The 5-color Squire combo.
What even is this?
All right, so it uses the card Astral Steel, which for people who are unfamiliar with it is +1/+2 with Storm.
Okay.
You pair that with your 1/2 Squire to give it +Squire/+Squire. So you have to set up Infinite Storm to get infinite plus Squires on your Squire, and then you make your Squire unblockable and kill people with it. And I think that there's nothing more devastating than losing to that in a game of Magic. So it's got to be the best deck because nothing makes somebody quit a game or quit Magic more than playing against that deck.
Okay, look, I'm just going to stop the interview for a moment. We're friends. I've known you for a long time. You do understand other people are going to see this.
Yes, I am aware.
Wow.
Unfortunately aware. Yes.
Wow. You just don't care, do you? Okay, on we go.
Oh no.
All right. Other than gaming, what profession would you like to try?
I would like to. There's a lot of different answers there for me, but the main one that I've been interested in the last year is like sports data. Mm-hmm. Where I really enjoy watching sports and I really enjoy like finding trends for sports as well. So that would be something that I would really like to do.
And I guess that ties in with that attention to detail. You're not watching the hoopla of Lakers versus Celtics. You're actually going into, from there, he has a less chance with all the big data that's going into the sports now.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. All right. If at some point you're no longer playing Magic competitively because life moves on, what do you hope people will say about you, first as a Magic player, but also as a person?
I think the thing is one of the things is that I've eventually kind of gotten to a spot where I actually don't care that much anymore what people say about me, and that wasn't always the case. I used to care way too much about that. And I think that was like kind of almost just a big breakthrough for me was learning, kind of training myself to not care so much. But yeah, so when it comes to being a Magic player, people will say what they will and whatever. It's doesn't matter to me. As far as a person is concerned, I want people to just say that I'm somebody who tried to do the right thing, tried to do the best they could. Um, I care more about, I guess, being a positive influence on that community than any accolades I've gotten from playing Magic at this point in my career.
So, together with Brad and Corey Baumeister, you are part of the Bash Brothers podcast. What is that show for people who don't know?
It's a podcast about Magic. Our theme is that, you know, it's Brad and Corey, they're brothers, and they're both very accomplished Magic players. There was a period of time, I guess, a couple of years ago, where both of them were top eighting repeatedly with each other in Grand Prix, and they kind of earned the name Bash Brothers, based off of some sports comparisons there. And so they were like, all right, let's form up this Bash Bros podcast. But the idea behind it is that each week we'll have a special guest. Now, just because each week I'm the special guest doesn't mean that next week I'll also be the special guest. But, you know, who knows? Maybe if you're a betting person, you can put some bets on that. But,
and it also doesn't make you any the less special, BBD.
Well, you'd have to run that idea past them. They might feel differently, but yeah.
I will make sure I ask Brad about that later in the series. All right. Now, look, one of that facet of being a professional Magic player and doing a podcast and so on is that makes you, by definition, in some level, a public figure as well as a private person. And I know that hasn't always been easy for you.
Yeah, it hasn't. I've always been a super private person. Just always preferred to kind of keep to myself. Never really been somebody who's been super open with like personal details with people, just even people I'm close to. Just always been my nature. And one of the hard parts of Magic for me is that, like, as I got better at the game and as like, you know, I was doing things like being a podcaster, writing articles, doing videos and stuff. It kind of blurred the lines between being a private person and a public person. And I had to deal with that, the nature of like, you know, people criticizing my decisions that I would make, or criticizing things I said, or reading too much into things, or, you know, having to be super careful with every, you know, possible thing I would say in a public setting, to where, you know, that was hard for me because it was not something that I, you know, necessarily wanted. It was just kind of pushed on me. Like, I wanted everything that put me into that situation, but that was something that I didn't necessarily want with it.
And also, I think it's true for a lot of pros that sometimes, look, so many fans are incredibly respectful and loving and love what you do and give us so much back. But there are also fans who will step over the line and invade the privacy.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big thing too, is having to deal with that kind of stuff. And I haven't had to deal with it nearly as much as other people have. And honestly, I don't even know how to best deal with it. Like, it in some ways it takes being kind of like a forceful person to just be like, look, you're crossing the line, like, and then just either cut them off or, you know, walk away or whatever it is. And I'm not really that kind of person. That doesn't come natural to me. So it's been hard to kind of have to figure out how to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's really easy for people to cross the line. And, you know, if I could just say one thing is, you know, try to be respectful of other people's time. That's a big thing.
Have you learnt from watching Brad? Because Brad is with the best will in the world, a superstar of the game. And I don't know what his inbox is like. I don't know what all his commitments are like. We'll talk with him later in the series, as we say. But have you watched him deal with that very big weight of being such a known figure?
I have. And actually, one of the things that I really enjoy is that when I'm with Brad, I don't have to worry as much about that kind of stuff, because he usually handles that kind of stuff. Because, you know, he's a lot better at it. Whether or not I know he doesn't enjoy doing it in any way. I don't think anyone really does, but it's something that he's just a lot better at that, and I really have appreciated that. And, yes, I definitely have watched how other people like Brad that I respect in the community handle that kind of stuff, and that has helped me like kind of get a gauge for what I should do in those situations as well.
I'd like to ask you about social media and Twitter in particular, because Twitter is very much a double-edged sword. One of the ways that you're so lovely on Twitter is that you will periodically just hurl out a little sly joke. I know that you love your puns, and there are all sorts of little things that you use in a positive way there. But you've also been on Twitter and said, I have to step away now. You will not see me for some time. Can you talk a little bit about where you were mentally at that point and why that was essential to you?
Yeah, so 2019 was really tough for me mentally. It was probably, I don't know, I want to say like, I don't know if it was my worst year, but it was close to it in terms of like my own mental health. And a large part of it, not certainly not the whole thing, but some part of it was social media. And some part of it was just the changes to pro magic pushed me from being somebody who was generally like people liked me in the community to now being part of the pro league, which kind of pushed me into a spot where I was like the enemy of a lot of people, not necessarily through any actions of myself or in some cases it was through actions of myself, but it was just through the nature of shifting things where um, I now represented the other side of things. And to me, that really shifted how people interacted with me. And I found that my interactions on social media became a lot more negative, and it was really affecting me in mentally. And so I knew that I had to change something, and I wasn't sure what it was, but I basically just decided that I couldn't keep going on the way that things were going. And all I was going to do was I'm just going to keep changing things until, I noticed improvements and trial and error, I guess you could say, of how I consumed social media. And, early on, a lot of what I was doing was just saying like, okay, cut it off completely because I can't trust myself to, use social media responsibly. Like I would either spend too much time on it, or I would allow it to frustrate me too much, or I would get in like petty arguments with people that was just unnecessary and things like that. So I tried, just cutting it off completely, but then that wasn't really working for me either because, there are positives to social media too. Like I love being connected to people. I love, making jokes, like, having a platform to say stupid things that are funny to some small percentage of people, me included, that kind of stuff. Like I really enjoy that. I like staying connected. I like reading news, reading things that people are posting, all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't sure how to balance the two because, like, on one hand, if I spend all this time on there, it frustrates me, it depresses me, and on the other hand, if I don't spend any time on there as well, I feel like I'm missing out, and that's not a solution for me either. And so it was a balancing act to eventually like figure out how to deal with all that.
Okay. Thank you for being so open and so honest. I hope that helps some people because I know it really is a double-edged sword, the social media, and I know a
Yeah.
lot of us struggle with it. You and I have talked off air about some of that as well before. So
Oh, for
thank
sure.
you for that. Really appreciate it. I can tell all the viewers at home that BBD and I are hard at work on our new podcast, the top 5,000 magic jokes of all time, which we're looking forward to bringing to you. I know I've sprung that on you, but just you wait to see how many people are looking forward to that. You'll see.
Oh yeah, joke 4,396 would be described as a zinger.
Yep, there
So
we go.
yeah.
You see, it's a rich vein of comedy. All right,
Oh,
you're welcome, or a BBD vein of comedy. Anyway, in any case, final question to more seriously: are you in a good spot now?
I kind of consider 2019 like a early to midlife crisis of sorts or whatever. And I feel like I like kind of broke through, and hopefully I won't ever have to go through that again in the same way. I'm sure I will, but in different ways. But yeah, it was. I feel like I discovered a lot of things about myself and about the nature of how I like approach different things, and that will help me to deal with things in the future. And for me, one of the big things is that it took me like actively working to change aspects of myself that were contributing towards my like mental health in a negative way. And that was one big thing. And then the other thing was to like I learned to just try to like inventory myself almost on a daily basis, and just like see how I'm doing, and being like, all right, today was a bad day, like why was that? And like sometimes the answer is like, it was just a bad day. Like there's no real reason for it, but sometimes it's like, hey, like I could have been doing this and instead I was doing this other thing. And I feel like I let myself down and didn't do what I was supposed to be doing today. And I'll be like, all right, well, I'm not gonna like beat myself up over it, but like tomorrow maybe I'll try to do I'll set aside an hour to do this other thing instead, and maybe that'll like be better. So for me, the big thing is just like checking in on myself, I guess you could say, on a regular basis.
Well, it's been great to check in with you, and we would like to do it on a regular basis on Profiles BBD. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Autumn Burchett will forever be the original Mythic champion. They won Mythic Championship Cleveland in 2019 with their signature mono blue deck. That was the two-time English national champion's introduction to the international Magic world. They've thrived since, earning a spot in the Magic Pro League last year and then re-qualifying for 2020. Autumn, I had to look up the word cineast and make sure I pronounced it correctly. Where do you get your love of film from?
It's something that really started flourishing during my late teens. I had like a lot of free time in the couple years before I moved to university, and just kind of dove in, really enjoy it as an art form, really enjoy it from a historical perspective too. Find it all very fascinating.
Who's Andrei Tarkovsky?
Andrei Tarkovsky is a Russian filmmaker who worked largely in the 70s, 80s, makes a lot of very thoughtful films, a lot of communicating with images and symbols, and kind of prompting you to like think about a lot of challenging subjects.
Right.
I find his films very engaging and moving.
Right, like for the multiplex peasantry, amongst which I count myself, Solaris got remade with George Clooney. Didn't it? That was his famous one, as it were. And then you also talked to me about over email about the French New Wave, people like Jean-Luc Godard, Francois Truffaut, and from my historical ramblings around the internet, apparently they were a very documentary style. Is that right?
So it was really the French New Wave was really cool. It was trying out like a lot of new ways of approaching film and thinking about film. They like tried to develop the language of film in a lot of ways. And some of that came from like very documentary style. Some of it like played with artifice in a bunch of interesting ways, kind of taking a lot of the stuff you'd seen in like the Hollywood studio system and developing on it in different ways. My personal favorite filmmaker from the surrounding of that movement is Erik Roma, who creates a lot of films that are very focused on conversation, and a lot of just like he'll come into a scene and just like focus on this very natural conversation that characters are having for like 7 or 8 minutes. That would be like less like a conversation that has like all the feelings of artifice of traditional film making that you might see, and more just feels like real life in a lot of ways. And that gives you a chance to like actually connect with the characters.
Right. You mentioned the Hollywood studio system there, and that made my eyes light up because that's what brought us the musicals of Gene Kelly, Singing in the Rain, American in Paris,
Mhm.
and things like Top Hat, Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire, greatest dance
Oh my
duo
gosh.
of all time. Those seem very different, though. You know, it's like it's saying, yes, do you like pizza? Well, yes, but not pineapple. And here you are with French New Wave, and then Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire.
It's just all of it is different ways of using the language of film to express different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's just like so much you can use that for, and so many different ways you can use it to express. And as long as it's being done in a way that I think is being approached intelligently and thoughtfully and such, then I find it fascinating. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot, the best musicals from the studio system have like a ton of joy and energy to them and feel very, like, obviously the studio system comes with a lot of artifice in some ways, but there's also like a kind of sincerity to it
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
that I find very enjoyable.
Now, of all the people you mentioned to me that I'm afraid I had literally never heard of, Yasuhiro Ozu from the 40s, 50s, and 60s in Japan. Tell us about him.
He is wonderful. He's someone I've not looked into as much as I'd like, but my few experiences with his work have just been incredibly enjoyable. He is very focused on the feelings his characters are going through, really tries to humanize the characters he presents. Very, very thoughtful filmmaker in many ways, just like very calm and caring with how he presents his subjects. My favorite film of his I've watched so far is about an elderly man whose daughter is like considering the prospect of whether to get married and then move away or not. And there's a lot of this conflict from the perspective of he wants her to go live her life, but also this recognition that if she does that, he's going to be alone and going to struggle from that. And just he gives a lot of time for these characters to express these feelings and to let you really understand them. I find it very compelling.
So, Autumn, thanks to a lot of hard work and a great deck, you find yourself the first Mythic champion. What did you learn from Cleveland in terms of suddenly becoming a very public figure and perhaps with a capital R somehow being expected to represent an entire community?
The results of all that tournament in so many ways have been amazing. I've been really like the impact it's had on my life and the fact that it seemed to have a big impact on other people's lives too. It was also pretty challenging for a little while. I'm aware that a lot of this is stuff that I was putting on myself, but I definitely felt a great sense of pressure for a few months following that result, where it felt like I was worried that if I didn't keep succeeding, I would be letting down the people who looked up to me and looked up to that result. Mm-hmm. And I was also worried that if I started failing, the people who very vehemently disliked the fact that I was having success would have a lot more ammunition against me. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a process through most of last year of trying to come to terms with all that and process all that and get to a point where I could finally feel just able to do what I wanted to again without that weight on my shoulders.
Did it impact your life away from Magic, or were you able to sort of hold that within the Magic bubble?
I don't really know that there is a life away from Magic.
Okay.
I don't know. Once you're at the point where something is both like your primary hobby and your job, and the way through which you like relate to a bunch of your friends,
Sure.
it kind of the whole concept of a life away from magic is a bit hard to process.
Friends is a very nebulous term in Magic because everyone loves you when you're winning, and there's a lot of casual friendships, and then when times are tough, you find out who the real friends are. Tell us a bit about the importance of the friendships and the relationships you've had within the game in the wake of Cleveland when the stakes were, as you've said, a lot higher.
I definitely lent on a few people a lot who helped me through some of the hurdles I had to overcome afterwards in terms of my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Most prominently Emma, of course.
Emma Handy.
Emma Handy was just incredible. There were multiple events throughout the several months following where I'd be struggling in some way and would just be able to lean on her, and she'd know exactly what to say to get me back in a good headspace or feeling better or whatever. She was very, very important. There were a handful of other people though. Probably one of the most notable ones is Barrett. She was very, very big for me, and I don't really want to get into naming names too much.
No, sure, of course. No, but it clearly, you were able to find a support network when you needed one.
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Again, just looking around the internet, tell us about the Knights of Autumn.
So we were trying to come up with a name for my subscribers on Twitch back almost 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't figure out anything I actually liked, just because like so many of the things you could relate to my name end up sounding morbid, like the leaf pile or whatever. It's just, this doesn't work.
Leaf pile? It does not.
So I just like put off this task of naming them for a couple months, and then Guilds of Ravnica came out and they printed Knights of Autumn, and it's like, wow, this makes things so easy. It just works perfectly.
That phrase has become about something more than subscribers to your channel, right? When people say that they are a Knight of Autumn, that is not just saying they like watching you stream or they like the decks or they learn from you. It is about something bigger, and somehow you have become, like it or not, you have become synonymous with a bigger movement and a bigger picture than just winning and losing at the table. That must make you proud, surely. It
makes me proud. It feels a bit surreal. It's like this thing that you could never really imagine, right? Until it happens.
Well, I guess when you're a kid, you don't say, when I grow up, I want to be a Twitch streamer with a fan base that is global and has global reach in important subjects. I mean, yeah, it's unimaginable, literally.
Yeah, it's incredible. I feel really thankful that to have been a part of it all.
Everyone deals with the internet and internet fame and real fame, whatever that might mean, in their own way. Do you have any tips that you can say from your own experience of your own mental well-being to give to people who are perhaps thinking of taking the plunge into the world of Twitch streaming and so on, about how to look after yourself in that way?
One is, I think it's important to like figure out the kind of boundaries you want and be comfortable expressing or enforcing them. I've definitely become friends with a bunch of people who started off as fans, and just I've interacted with them a lot through my Discord server or whatever. But like, that's something I find really enjoyable. But if that's something you don't want, you have to be willing to make it clear when that's the case. And if someone oversteps any boundaries due to the nature of parasocial relationships, then you have to be willing to express that. And I think most people will be very sympathetic towards that when you do express those boundaries. One of the big things that's helped me when thinking about the pressure that used to weigh pretty heavily on me, not really so much nowadays, is that the people who dislike you are going to dislike you no matter what you do. And the people who like you, like in my case, I could not win another game of Magic for the rest of my life, and I would still have the people who like genuinely like me and want to support me and are a fan of me are still gonna care. But that's not the metric on. There comes a point where that's no longer the metric on which you're being based.
Autumn, what's your favourite word or phrase in Magic?
No.
What's your favourite... that got me. What's your favourite colour?
Blue.
What's your favourite card?
This one's really hard to find a specific answer to. There's like a list of them from Delver decks, but like Daze, Delver of Secrets, Wasteland, Brainstorm, those cards just make me very happy to cast.
Okay, so what is the best deck you've ever played?
I really adore Deathrite Shaman, Gitaxian Probe era Grixis Delver. When it was like fully powered, I adored that deck.
Okay, and within its own format and time, what do you think is the best deck ever?
Probably in the time frame since I started playing, I would say Modern Eldrazi was just reprehensible.
I think that's the first time we've got reprehensible onto the show, so well done. Okay, what turns you on? What lights your fire?
Nature, water, waterfalls, beaches, film, magic. Those are probably the things that are really high up the list. But there's a lot of things. I love food a lot too. I love music.
Plenty.
I love dancing.
You love a lot, which is great. What turns you off? What don't you like?
Insincerity.
Assuming you were equipped to do it, what profession would you like to try?
That was really hard to answer. I was thinking about that. It's like everything kind of ties back in some way. Like I'll find the idea of game design really appealing and fascinating. It still feels like it ties into gaming a fair amount, but
yeah, well, that's fair enough. Okay, and last question. If at some point you're no longer playing Magic competitively, you've moved on, what do you hope people will say about you as a Magic player and as a person?
In terms of as a Magic player, I have no idea what to even ask for in terms of that. But in terms of a person, I would hope they saw me as someone who actually cared and someone who was trying their best.
Autumn Burchett, the first, the original, forever Mythic champion. Thank you for being on Profiles.
Thank you.
Lee Shi Tian is more than a Magic Pro Tour Hall of Fame member. He's an ambassador for the game. His incredible 7 top finishes earned him an introduction to the Hall in 2018, and he's still going strong. He made the top 8 at Players Tour Nagoya and added another top finish last year at Mythic Championship 5. So let's talk about some of the mental aspects of the game. You are both a public figure and a private person. How do you balance those two parts of your life with Magic?
I'm actually not... I do not like share my private life that much at the very beginning, but at some point I getting like more and more popular, and I think it is my responsibility to do something with my reputation, and then that is really something like we all know we all grow up watching Spider-Man. We know with more ability, we should do more to the world. So that's how I start to share more of my life.
Mm-hmm. How important is it to you to be a Hall of Famer from the Asia Pacific region, not just a Hall of Famer from Japan, which for a long time was synonymous with the APAC region?
APAC player does not have a very strong group before.
Mm-hmm.
Like we once test together, but people just go. They qualify 1 or 2 Pro Tour and then they fall off. And then sometimes they come back, qualify 1 time, and then they fall off again. So like having one APAC Hall of Famer, I believe that shows that the area, the region actually have the people in that region actually have the chance to achieve some top achievement in the game. Like, because I saw so many people who have the talent to play the game, but end up they just they start a card store, they become a card dealer. I'm not saying those are the bad choice, but when your focus shifted from playing the game at your best possible way to operating a business, but after that, you just people just have a lower chance to achieve, the play skill or the dead choice.
So you talked to me once about liking to help people, about giving people second chances. And you obviously went on to lead the team to the team series win, which is phenomenal. Why does it matter so much to you to help others and for you to be a leader?
So as I said, APAC does not have APAC is kind of at a fringe group at the pro play scene, and then I was from a little bit fringe places, and then I start winning a little bit more, and I meet people, and then those people keep helping me, and then after that I achieve more and more. So I think I should be helping the other people as well. I'm so lucky to receive all the love and help from other players. So I should also share it back.
Okay. Magic is a game that demands that you really focus in on it. How do you balance the needs of Magic with the mental framework of dealing with real life, if you like?
This is a really hard part, but sometimes I try to. I believe the most important point is the motive. If you have the motive to win, to make a good result, and then you will be more focused on the whole thing. Like when I play test, I kind of ignoring other things in my life.
Yeah.
I do not play Magic as much as most of the players. Before a Pro Tour, I will very focus on 1 week, whole week. I keep playtesting 24/7. I will do that, but and then I always have a motive to do well. Like for example, in 2015 or last year, I have a motive. I want to win. I want to do something on the camera, and then I just focus on winning, and then I just did it. Sometimes when you focus, when you want to do something so much, you just stay very focused. That's the tricks I learned.
Okay. In 2017, we asked Worlds competitors to tell us something about them that most people might not know. And your answer was that you were Christian. Can you tell us a bit about your faith and what importance that has in your life?
So basically, as I said before, I know what I have is a gift from others, not something I deserve or something I should have. I think with that mindset, I just meet the good people. I will meet, I appreciate the people I met. I appreciate about the skill or the deck I build with my teammate. I just appreciate other things, like all the other things in my life. I know there's some, we always saw some toxic discussion in Twitter or in social media or in Reddit. When I saw this, I know people did not, I believe people did not appreciate what they have so far. So as a Christian, I think I handle my mentality better because I just not to hate other things that much. I just try to find the good things in life and then just try to enjoy my life.
Lee Shi Tian, what's your favorite word or phrase in Magic?
We used to laugh at people missing topic, but in a limited GP, we said O3 is not even that difficult. Every time we met together, and then he said, "Oh, I'm XO now," and then we said, "No, O3 is not very hard, not that difficult."
O3 is not that difficult. Great. Okay.
And then some of them go O3, and they just miss the topic that time.
Yep, nice. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Your favorite card?
It's between Brainstorm or Ponder.
Okay, what's the best deck you ever played?
I believe it's Dredge after Golgari Grave Troll just unbanned in Modern. Yeah. Okay,
and within its own format and time, what do you think is the best Magic deck of all time?
Wow. It could be, all time. I actually like Madurico. Like that time I built a deck, and then at the end, the deck I play seldom exists for so long because I always play the meta game deck. But Madurico is the deck I play, and people tuning the deck after that, and the deck stay for the whole year. Okay.
What turns you on? What excites you in life?
Well, I think just anything that makes me happy. I want to enjoy my life, and when I talk to people, we laugh, we talk jokes, and then that's good for me.
What turns you off? What don't you like?
I hate people just keep saying they are unlucky or something. Sometimes I say I'm unlucky at in a funny way, in a joking way, but sometimes people just say, "Oh, I'm just unlucky," or "That guy is so lucky," or some blah blah blah. I think that complain in a bad way is not good. Sometimes you need to get it out of your system. You make jokes about it. Yeah, you make joke about it. That's okay. But sometimes you really complain about it, and then you become hatred people. Then that's bad.
Okay. What's your favorite curse word?
Curse word? Am I allowed to say it? No.
Yeah, you can say it. Go on. No one's listening.
I guess the ovary, like the one before the favorite word is one of my also the favorite curse word. The O3 is not difficult.
O3 is your favorite curse word, right? Other than gaming, what profession would you like to try?
I'm an accountant, but I think I want to be an economist. I like to observe things. I like to speculate. Yeah, I like to observe the behavior of people. So economist, maybe something I am interested.
Okay, Lee Shi Tian, Asia Pacific representative in the Hall of Fame, and great guy all round. Thanks for being on Profiles.
Thank you.
Thanks to Brian Braun-Duin, Autumn Burchett, and Lee Shi Tian, and also to you for watching Profiles. If you want to watch more episodes of this and other exciting Magic the Gathering esports content, please subscribe.